Hi folks, welcome back. Let's proceed with step 41. They say it's time to add other details to our markers, but let's start with the first marker. Let's change the class 1 to red for now. Step 42. Let's update class 1 selector to class selector red in the styles.css file. Step 43. Now let's max out red to 255 in the first marker. Step 44. Now we gotta repeat the same steps to second and third marker by replacing class 2 with green and class 3 with blue. Step 45. Let's update the class selector 2 with green class and class selector 3 with blue class. Step 46. Now we're gonna learn few techniques to apply color other than RGB function. A very common way to apply color to an element with CSS is with hexadecimal or hex values. Hex values is same as RGB values. Hex values start with a hash character and take 6 characters from 0 to 9 and letter A to F. The first pair represents red, second pair is green, and third pair is blue. Now let's change our green marker's background color property to hex color code and set red to 00 and green value to FF and blue value to 00 to get green color as the result. Step 47. If you were good with math, you might remember decimal or base 10 values, which goes from 0 to 9. Hexadecimal or base 16 values goes from 0 to 9, then letter A to F. Now let's consider hex colors percentage-wise. 00 is 0% of that color and FF is 100% of that color. Now let's lower the intensity of green marker by setting the green value of the hex color to 7F. That means the value goes like 007F00, which results into darker version of green. Step 48. Okay, we know the hex code colors. Now let's learn the HSL color, which stands for hue, saturation, and lightness. HSL accepts 3 values, a number from 0 to 360 for hue, a percentage from 0 to 100 for saturation, and a percentage from 0 to 100 for lightness. If you look at the color wheel, the hue red is at 0 degrees, green is at 120 degrees, and blue is at 240 degrees. Saturation is the intensity of a color from 0% or gray to 100% or pure color. Lightness is how bright a color appears from 0% or complete black to 100%, a complete white with 50% being neutral. Percentage sign for saturation and lightness values is mandatory. In our third marker, in the blue class selector, let's use HSL function to change background color property to pure blue. For that, we need to set hue to 240 degrees, saturation to 100%, and the lightness to 50%. Step 49. Okay folks, we have learned a few ways to set flat colors in CSS, but we can use a color transition or gradient or an element. A gradient is when one color transitions into another color. The CSS linear gradient function lets us control the direction of the transition along a line and which colors are used. But we gotta always remember one thing, that is, the linear gradient function actually creates an image element and is usually paired with the background property, which can accept an image as a value. In our first red marker class selector, let's change the background color property to background property. Step 50. Let's understand the syntax of linear gradient by looking at the example code provided on the screen. The first value is always gradient direction, then the next value is going to be the color arguments, which are colors that will be used in the transition itself. These colors can be any type of color, including color keywords, hex color codes, RGB colors, or HSL color code. Now let's apply a red to green gradient along a 90-degree line to the first marker by passing the value 90 degree as the gradient direction. Alright, that was all for today, folks. Hope you like, share, subscribe, and comment. Hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any updates. Stay tuned for further steps and chapters. I'll catch you in the next one.